Well, I'm officially back in my room here at school after being able to go to a live NASCAR race this weekend at Bristol Motor Speedway. So thankful that Bristol was able to let fans come. I was glad I was able to go to my first sporting event this year, and hopefully I'll be able to go to the Road for a few weeks. But anyways, let's recap all that happened last night in the Bass Pro Shops NRA Night Race at Bristol. Number one, Kevin Harvick, as I mentioned, captured his 9th win of the season, winning the Bass Pro Shops NRA Night Race at Bristol Motor Speedway over Kyle Busch, one of the best at Bristol, Eric Jones, Tyler Reddick, and Eric Almirola. Kevin Harvick just was super consistent last night, running in the top 5. I mean, up there the entire night, led some laps early on, passing our pollster Brad Keselowski, lost the lead in a pit stop, ran in the top 3 for the most part, and then the beginning of stage 3, Kevin Harvick started to show a little bit of a click trying to run down Kyle Busch, who just flat out dominated the second stage. Kevin Harvick was so good on the long runs, you could see in his car, he could just pull a big 5-second gap over Kyle Busch in second place. They had a couple battles for a couple laps, and then as the longer the race went into the green flag run, Harvick would just pull away from Kyle Busch, and Kyle just couldn't run him back down. It was just unbelievable how good Kevin Harvick's car was. He did cause a little bit of controversy on the last caution of the night when he was trying to get to pit road. That caused a little bit of an incident which jumbled up the racing field and put a lot of guys a lap down, and I'll relate to that in a little bit. But Kevin Harvick was not totally affected by this. He was able to stay on the lead lap. He got out of the pits first. He got passed by Kyle Busch when he got held behind the lap car of Reed Sorensen. Kyle drove away, but then Kyle got held up behind the lap car, and I'll talk about that in a little moment. And Kevin Harvick got back by Kyle. Kyle was closing on the last couple of laps, but Harvick was able to hold off Kyle Busch and get what I believe, if my memory serves me right, this is Kevin Harvick's first win in the night race at Bristol, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this is Kevin Harvick's first ever win in the night race at Bristol, because he's won at Bristol before in the springtime, but he's never won the night race. So this is pretty cool for Kevin Harvick to get this opportunity to win the night race and just carry more bonus points. I mean, it's pretty much certain he's going to get through this round of 12, just like he did the round of 16, like a piece of cake. Number 2, Kyle Busch put up perhaps his best performance of 2020 last night. I mean, he was just so good. He had to start the rear of the field with Denny Hamlin, who's already locked in the next round of the playoffs, and teammate Eric Jones, who finished third, because they failed pre-race attack twice. But Kyle Busch just worked his way to the front. That car was fast. He was strong. He was second in the first stage. And then he led every single lap in stage 2 and won his second stage of the season. He now has 2 bonus points for this year. And Kyle looked to be on his way to breaking the winless streak last night and advancing himself with a few more points going into the round of 12. Well, as I mentioned, with the battle of Kevin Harvick, he got by Harvick when Harvick was caught behind the lap car Sorensen. But as Kyle was trying to put Joey Logano 2 laps down, Logano held up Kyle Busch and got passed by Kevin Harvick. So Kyle was a little bit frustrated, although he was, did show remorse that they had a good Skittles Toyota last night, which they did. But he obviously wanted to get that first win of the season, and obviously Kyle has advanced to the next round. He definitely showed that he can win a race, but if he doesn't win a race in this next round right here, this round, if he doesn't get any bonus points, it's game over for Kyle Busch, because there's so many guys in front of him that have more bonus points than he does. Kyle Busch did put together a consistent round of 16 based on how their year's been, but again, as I've mentioned, the lack of practice and qualifying is preventing Kyle Busch, I believe, from winning these races. Last night's car was a car that could have won, but Kevin Harvick had a better long run car, and Kyle got put behind Joey Logano, which led to him finishing second. But by far, Kyle Busch's best performance of 2020 was last night's race. Number 3, the 4 men that have been officially eliminated after the round of 16. Here are their names: Cole Custer, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, and Matt DiBenedetto. Those are the 4 men that have been eliminated in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Now, it's not a surprise. DiBenedetto, Custer, they weren't going to make it. I mean, they were going to, obviously, they made the playoffs. Custer on the win, DiBenedetto on points, but they weren't going to go far. DiBenedetto, at one point last night, actually took 2 tires in the first stage, gaining some track position and putting himself in a position to possibly be a top contender with those other guys, but 2 tires didn't work for him. He dropped backwards, and from there on, he had to pit into green because he had a loose wheel, apparently. He fell 3 laps down. He got almost all of them back, got into the lucky dog spot, running 7th late in the race, but he had to pit with the right rear tire going down, and ultimately prevented him to a top 20 finish, and ultimately knocking him out. Cole Custer struggled last night. He didn't do so good, but Ryan Blaney just disappointed me this round. I mean, all 3 races, just pathetic results. I mean, Darlington wasn't good. Richmond, we all know he sucks there. But last night, I was a little disappointed because I felt like as good as Blaney's been at Bristol, he'd have a great chance to run up in the top 3. He got in the top 5 at one point, but then as the long runs came, his car just went backwards and he couldn't hang on to it. So it's just a fortunate night for Ryan Blaney. William Byron, though, kind of bums me out because I had Byron making it into the round of 12, and ultimately that is not the case, as Byron last night was in a good position to make it on points because he accumulated some stage points in stage 1. He was running in the top 10 for the most part last night, and then later in the race, in the middle of stage 2, he runs right into the back of Christopher Bell, ultimately damaging the front nose of his car and knocking a hole in the radiator. And that officially knocks William Byron out of the playoffs, which it really sucks because he had a great top 10 car last night, and it looked like he was going to make it over Clint Bowyer. Sadly, though, not the case. But Byron should be relatively happy. He got into the playoffs. He got his first career win, and it was at Daytona of all places. He should still take away the positive this year was that they got into the playoffs and he got his first career win. There's still a bright future ahead for William Byron and Ryan Blaney and Cole Custer and Matt Benedetto. This is not to put them down. Don't let this bad round for these guys put them down. They'll get back on their feet and they'll try to finish the year strong the best they possibly can. That's all you can do, especially when you get eliminated. The best thing you can do is try to finish the year as strong as you possibly can. I think Ryan Blaney will probably finish in the top 10 points at the end of the year because he's been in the top 10 in points the entire season, basically. Number 4, the first time with the Bass Pro Shops NRA Night Race being run in the playoffs and also during the month of September. Last night, I expected the racing to be really intense, a lot of slipping and sliding, a lot of desperate moves being made out there. But for the most part, the cars looked pretty well balanced because cooler temps last night. It was a little bit chilly. I didn't bring a sweatshirt last night. I mean, I brought a sweatshirt to the track, but I didn't bring it in because I'm like a polar bear, guys. My teeth are chattering, but I held up my own the last, the entire race without having to ask somebody for a jacket or a blanket or anything. But last night, you could tell the cars were pretty well balanced because of the cooler temps. And cooler temps on a track means more grip to the tires. It was hot and slick like we had in August. These guys would have been slipping and sliding all over the place. And last night we saw the bottom groove was the preferred groove for most of the race. And then maybe later in the race you'd see guys experiment and run up at the top of the racetrack. And most of the guys would run the top of the track for the most part. But on the restarts, the bottom groove was the place to be. Obviously, the choose rule definitely makes that very interesting at this racetrack, especially how short it is. But yeah, I mean, it was a good race overall. It wasn't the best Bristol race I've ever seen. The best, by far, my first trip there in 2018 was the best Bristol race I've ever seen in my life. Last year's is definitely second. This year's was third in the playoffs. I think next year will hopefully be a little bit better, and maybe they'll have a warmer night in Tennessee. It was a cold front. Came in because we had some rain during the week, and usually after a rain shower that brings in a cold front after that. So that kind of maybe what hampered from having hot, slick, aggressive moves last night. So, but overall, I'd say Bristol in the playoffs is a good start, and I hope it's the case next year when they announce the schedule. And it was good to be at the racetrack for this event. And number 5 will be our driver recap. Chase Elliott, 7th place finish. We're on to the next round. Now, first of all, obviously, so happy we made it to the next round. Obviously, I felt like we were going to, despite the issue with Darlington, we were going to do well. We had to go to Richmond and run very well, and we did, getting a 5th place. And last night, we just did a great job. We won stage 1, finished 3rd in stage number 2, behind Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Elliott was probably the 3rd best car last night. And he, unfortunately, was one of the guys that got bit by the caution flag when James Davison got turned by Austin Dillon when they had to check up for trying to avoid Kevin Harvick, who's coming to the pits at the time, under green flag pit stops. Elliott got bit by the caution, and he fell 2 laps down. He took the wave around and was able to find his way from 13th all the way back up to a 7th place finish, the first car 1 lap down, which, it was a really solid run. I'm very happy with the result, but, that result was nowhere compared to where we were last night. We were a 3rd place car, but still, top 10's a top 10, and we're on to the round of 12, and one of the races in there is probably Chase Elliott's in the money bag for Chase Elliott. And that would be the Roval because he won there last year. He won the Daytona Road Course this year. I mean, you could already say Chase Elliott's the favorite for the Roval, period. So happy we made it. I'm so happy we get a chance to compete for the championship. Still, got to go through this round of 12. We got Vegas and Talladega and the Roval. I think all those tracks are good for Chase, and I think he'll do just fine. Happy we made it. How we get to advance. So the 12 drivers, in summary, that are moving on are Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, the Cinderella story of these playoffs, honestly, Clint Boyer, Eric Almirola, and Kurt Busch are the 12 men that have advanced to the round of 12. So the new round starts this upcoming weekend in Viva Las Vegas. Who's going to score big? Who's going to crap out? We don't know. We just got to tune in and find out. But it was great to be back at the racetrack this weekend, and I'm hoping that the Roval, which I have tickets for, will allow fans to come, and hopefully I'll bring experience to you guys, the racing experience to you guys there when I'm at the track, hopefully. So it's great to be at Bristol, and it was great to see a live event, and hopefully we'll get to do that in a couple weeks, and we got a new round starting next week. So anytime, subscribe, like. Congrats to Kevin Harvick on winning the Bass Pro Shops NRA Night Race at Bristol, and until then, y'all have a wonderful and blessed week.